Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Wisdom Circle. I'm Priscilla. I'm here with Heather, Terry Lee, Sun Psychic Jean, and Terry Suzuki. Wisdom Seeker Joan couldn't make it this afternoon, but hopefully we'll see her back next month. And today, Pure Visionary Terry Lee is going to be our presenter. So I'm really looking forward to that. As you know, the six of us get together once a month on a subject, and we share our presentation. Um, and hopefully, you'll enjoy what we talk about and join in. We love comments and information from the chat. It's always welcome. So, thanks for being here today. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Miss Terry Lee.
Why, thank you, Miss Priscilla. I have to say, the show, when we first decided on our subjects, I just blurted out the subject that the guides have been working with me on, and then I realized it was on April Fool's Day, and I was like, yeah, perfect. So this fool,
Fool's Day, yeah.
so this fool is going to talk about releasing judgment. I'm so happy to be here with everyone and everyone in the chat. This is going to be a very free-flowing show. So feel free out in the chat to participate, and everyone on the panel is free to speak up, and we're all going to share this information together. It began to come to me, oh gosh, a few months ago in little bits and pieces. And it's interesting because sometimes the guides will direct me to a book or a video or something specifically, and I'll get information that way. This is 4 a.m. in the morning info. And they just kind of gave it to me in bits and pieces. But as I began to learn it and practice it, and trust me, I'm still practicing. I noticed a joy and a freedom in my life that I haven't had before. And so that's why I'm so happy to share it with all of you today. And I'm sure many of you out in the chat, and of course you on the panel, I'm sure you know a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So we'll get started. We're going to talk about the power of releasing judgment. And what I'm going to do is read a little bit, and then we're going to talk a little bit. So I'm going to get started with this. Now, if you've ever listened to any of my shows or seen me on the panel sometimes, I love to quote this, and this is what the guides gave to me some time ago, and they wanted me to start this show with this quote. So they wanted us to start right at the very beginning as to who we are. When a soul is created, it is given a unique contribution to the cosmic consciousness that creates universes. Man, I love that. The guides gave that to me some time ago. I wrote it down in my favorite channeling book, and I remind myself of that constantly. We're souls. We are beautiful, beautiful souls, and very powerful souls at that. Okay, so they wanted me to go back and start from the beginning. As a soul experiencing life on planet Earth, you elevate and expand your spiritual vibration awareness when you learn who you truly are and stop denying it. And so it is with how we view other souls. When we judge ourselves or others, we deny our divinity. And that came from the guides as well. So this is where we're going to start with today because we needed that little bit of background. Obviously, we're not going to start pointing fingers at each other for judging each other, right? This is going to be something that was given to me in love, and I want to share it with all of you in love. So let's continue. We're going to start with the plan. Okay, so that is what I just read. And this is going to be our focus right now. We're going to think about ourselves as souls. It's so wonderful when I share with these ladies on the panel, or when I share with someone on a show, or share with the people out in the chat, that we're all communicating and sharing together this precious time we have and at this amazing time on planet Earth. And so we want to know how to do that in a more freeform way so that we really get the benefit of the power that is happening right now. All right. So we're going to start more about the plan. That's okay.
I don't know how I did that. Sorry.
Let's have a fight. I told you it's going to be free form. All right, little action. Okay, so while we are in the spiritual world, and many of you know this, we chose our body and we chose our family. Amazing, isn't it? And we chose those with the guidance of spiritual guides and other wise beings. It's often part of the broader lessons, karma and mission in life, so that our soul will grow and acquire new knowledge. Before we were born, our family souls asked us, what would you like to learn in this life? And based on our answer, then the soul contract is made. Now, if we want to learn to practice patience, we're not going to be surrounded by Zen Buddhist priests, okay? We're going to be surrounded with people like our brothers, our sisters, our neighbors, our friends, and people who will continually test our patience and willfully irritate us. And they come in all forms. They're on our TV. They might be our next door neighbor. And we're all aware of this. And that's why they're there to help us learn. So if we want to learn love, hatred might be shown in our life. And regardless of the lesson that we must learn, we will always look for the opposite of what we want. For example, if we choose to have self-confidence and learn that in this lifetime, some people may appear in our life who kind of pretend to be our friends and will hurt us deeply. And it will help us and inspire us to build a love for ourselves. Soul contracts are based on this principle because only when the situations are hard, we have no choice but to go through it and learn from it. Now, after I wrote this, I thought about it and I thought, yeah, it's sort of like if you kind of refuse to get it, you could have a whole lifetime of the same lesson coming at you over and over and over again. I caught myself in situations in my life stopping and saying, you know what, if this is a test, I'm going to pass it.
Me too.
Yeah.
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 What am I missing here?
Right. A little light goes on in the back of your head, right?
Mhm.
All right. Our development can be an excruciating process, and it is necessary for the purification. Just as the diamond polishes to get the glow, so we have to go through a similar process. So I'm sure we all know and kind of agree with this, but can any of you think of a specific incident or someone who really taught you a lesson the hard way, like another soul on this planet? That might be in your soul contract, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My father.
Ah, okay, Terry. Or Heather, give us a little bit of that.
Let's just say I loved him. I didn't like him. I couldn't rely on him.
Oh,
For
yeah.
I mean, you could rely on him materially. No, you couldn't do that either. Never mind. No, you couldn't. Anyway, there were a lot of challenges with him, but
Mhm.
everything's cool now. We've resolved everything
Oh, that's beautiful.
since he
Yeah.
passed, so it's
Yeah.
fine. I can say that.
Same with my father and I. Yeah.
Yep,
He
I
he
think
taught
I
me
think
some very hard lessons.
yeah, a
Mine
lot
was
of
my mother.
people.
Ah, your mother, Priscilla?
Hmm.
Mm. And Jean?
I think that that's part of what you were talking about, our
Mhm.
pre-life planning and who we want to be our parents, who we want to be our
Yes.
teachers, the ones who will be with us and love us, yet teach us the most profound, important messages
Yes.
and lessons. And I feel as though a lot of us can say one parent was the one that would save us, and the other parent was the one that would test us.
Oh, I
And I
agree
think
with
that
that.
it's designed to have this very close intimate type of lesson that recurs in our lifetime. Like they say, a lot of women marry their fathers, or people who behave like their fathers, or who are like their fathers, or whoever the thorn in their side was. I think that it's easy to judge our own parents because um, we think we can see the error in their ways, but we don't know anything about anyone unless we walk in their shoes,
True.
Know
and
each other's soul contracts. We have no idea what our parents' soul contracts are.
Right. And just because my dad and I didn't get along on earth, he was doing a good job of what he was supposed to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
My mother did
Terry?
too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Terry, did you have something to say on that?
Well, I was just thinking about all the different things. Definitely a soul contract with my mother, and have found all the challenge. I was just laughing for a second because I learned something new about that relationship yesterday.
Oh, really?
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah,
It can take a lifetime worth of work, really. And
Yeah.
that's the whole point of where we're going today, is that ability to see everyone surrounding us as a soul, another soul on this planet with their experience, their soul plan, the things that they need to experience. And the grit, some of the people who taught me the hardest things in my life, hard lesson, folks.
Yeah.
Forgiving them was the most joyful, beautiful. It was in a sense a resurrection of
It really
who
is.
I was truly as a soul, of how I am made of love, came from love. And when you forgive someone, then you feel that just flow over you. So it's a wonderful thing. And that's what
It
they're
re-
in.
it reminds me of the very first graphic that I was a little stunned when you put the graphic up. I thought, oh my gosh, is that a chain around that person's ankle? And then
Uh-huh.
you said, releasing judgment. I thought, oh, okay. So
I'm going to
while
put
we're
that up real
still
quick.
in that
If you
judgment,
didn't, yeah,
Right.
if you can see
So
that.
when you release it, that you're releasing those chains, and we're going to get you perfect flow into the next segment, Jean. How did
okay.
you know? All right. So next, we're going to talk about you are not your thoughts. I was so happy to find that picture because it's so perfect, isn't it? The monkey mind that sits right next to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you pay attention to the thoughts that dart in and out of your mind all day, you might be surprised at just how often you pass judgment about things, events, people, and yourself. The more you judge others, the more you judge yourself. By constantly seeing the bad in others, we train our minds to find the bad. This can lead to increase in stress. I love that. Train your mind up. I was just feeling that when I was writing it down, like, yeah, I get it. We train our mind in a lot of ways, right? And so
Repetition.
judging becomes a pattern in our everyday life.
Mhm.
Okay, so it results in stress. Stress can weaken the immune system and cause high blood pressure, fatigue, depression, anxiety, and even a stroke. How many things are bubbling up in us and we wonder where did that come from, or where did this come from? It can possibly be from those habits of judging and training our minds to find the bad. Mindfulness involves becoming aware of the mind's habit of judging and unhooking from the thoughts. In this way, we learn not to take the thoughts so seriously and to see them as simply mental events. We discover a liberating insight that thoughts are just thoughts, not reality. With this insight, thoughts lose their hold over us. By responding non-judgmentally to the events and experiences of our lives, we cultivate the capacity to be non-reactive. We're more able to stay grounded in peace, wisdom, and presence, no matter what life throws at us. I love that. My mom, bless her soul, left the planet at 102 years old. And when I was raising my children, it was very popular to say, whatever. And of course, as a parent, it irritates the dickens out of you, right? You're like, what do you mean, whatever? My mom picked up that habit and she carried that with her to her dying day. She would just say, whatever. And at times I'd be like, Mom, how can you be saying whatever? And then I realized, brilliant, whatever. Really started to get that meaning of it and how much joy it gave her to say that. Oh, she loved it. She loved using whatever. It came in handy. So let's go back and see what else we've got here. By observing things and people through the lens of non-judgment, we see them with fresh eyes rather than making assumptions about them. It reconnects us with our innermost selves. Oh, I like that. We begin to see clearly that our thoughts are not necessarily reality. A rainy day isn't a dreadful day. It's just a rainy day. Let's pause for a minute here. What do you ladies think about some of that?
It sounds a lot like having your story, or talking about, if you believe something about one of your family members and you think everybody who follows or has similarities in that family member's, profession, or nothing against lawyers, but some people say, oh, I know a lawyer, they're really mean, nasty, and lie, cheat, and steal, and everybody who's it's one of those things where you're really judgmental about some like broad topics, and it's like a story that you tell yourself. And especially when it happens within your nuclear family, it becomes like a soul wound almost that you can't get over, and you just automatically say, oh, lawyer, no, and I love lawyers. I'm just saying, this is an example. I'm not saying anything. I'm just picking a straw out of a hat. That's all. But I'm just saying, like, something like that you can just judge people. And it's really important it's not that they don't have ownership over some of the traits that you might detect. It's that you're not reacting to it, and that you understand it's their life to live. It's their journey. And it is not for you to have hostile or strong emotions with it.
Yeah. Perfect, Jane. So true. So very true. Terry.
I have adopted, I think I've been working on this a long time, because I'm going to be honest, the thing between me and my mother was judgment. It was about
Mine too.
judgment. And I think I've come to the point where I let whatever thoughts come across my mind. But when a thought comes across my mind that it's not a good one, I am really quick now to kind of grab. I know there's no air in your thought, but to grab it out of the air, because I want to keep going. Kind of like, hey, that is not really my thought. I don't like that thought. Where did it come from? I thought we worked on this a long, long time ago. So how did you get back in? And where do I really believe this? Is this something inside of me? How do I let go of this? In other words, I try to, for lack of better words, own the thought, rather than saying, oh, Terry, you can't ever think that way. I'm like, you just thought that, you did. So let's deal with it. Let's find out where that came from, how we're gonna do this, and I don't feel like I have to solve it all at once. I just have to solve it as much as I can and then let go of it.
Exactly.
Beautiful, Terry. That's so perfect, because that involves you also not judging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's truly releasing judgment.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but you
Priscilla
gotta
or
keep
Heather,
doing it.
did you have a comment? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that, it'd be lovely if I could stop doing that, but I, like, as long as
You
we're in the
may yet
body,
over
this is going to
time.
happen.
It's practice. We're practicing, right?
Mhm.
Everything's a practice.
Everything's practice. Even doctors practice.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah. I think there's an old saying, something about practicing medicine. That's what doctors do. They practice. So, Jean, did you see anything out in the chat that is kind of relating to what's the chat talking about right now?
Sorry, I'm muted. Lark says, I'm in the process of training my mind and letting things flow and forgive. And
Yeah.
that's letting go of that story that we tell ourselves about ourselves and about people in our lives that we feel have wronged us just by living on the earth, I think. And just by existing, we feel as though they offended us. But I don't know about Lark's particular, but when we tell that story about that person, we're telling a hurt or a pain that this person has caused us to judge them, in my circumstance. And then Laura says it's all because of distrust.
Good point,
Wow.
Laura. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And isn't
Wow.
it amazing? I think that so many of us are really learning the lessons at the same time. It's like we're all kind of getting these downloads on it and understanding, how we can get closer to who we really are as souls, from whence we came, love, understanding, forgiveness, all of those things. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
And then we think we've got it down and it pops up again. So whoops.
Oh, sure.
Where'd that come from?
And Susie says, I had to practice separation from some people for being over judgmental. For them being over
there.
This judgmental is our judgment against people or about others, or a judgment from others being perpetrating judgment upon us. Like it goes both ways, right? Terry?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And that's a very, very good point. And that's also part of us being drawn to, like, if and I can think of that. I've had family members and friends that I've had to kind of just spend a little less time with because the vibration that I felt when I was with them was uncomfortable. And that's okay. You're not judging them. You're just choosing. I choose to spend a little less time with you, but I still love you. And I know you're a soul on this planet experiencing your life. And we'll get to that here in a little bit, because we're going to talk about different ways we can rephrase our thoughts. And as I said earlier, we are all practicing. I'm sure I'll be practicing this until the day I go home. But that's the joy of it, though. That's the joy of recognizing it and not being maybe unhealthy or miserable or feeling bad inside and not really knowing what it's about. So we're learning what it's about. And so I'll jump in right here. We're going to talk about releasing judgment patterns can be difficult. I think that's what we're talking about, because it's often ingrained in us. We often don't even realize that we are doing it. Making a successful shift takes a willingness to look within and to be self-honest, and usually a lot of dedicated practice. And Terry gave us a perfect example of that. Just recognizing it and acknowledging it. You didn't judge yourself and you dealt with it. Kind of like my windshield wiper. I deal with a lot of thoughts that way. And it's just like when you're driving your car, you're going to have some weather and you have to use your windshield wiper.
Yeah, that's where my judgmental attitude comes in. I'm chill till I get in a car.
You get a little mud on your windshield there, Priscilla?
Oh yeah, I'm working on it. It's in process. It's a process.
Yeah, that's it. And it says usually a lot of dedicated practice. Absolutely. But what do we get? Ta-da! Transcendent reality is what's left when all of your judgments and assumptions have gone. And I love that, transcendent reality. The definition, the guides gave me that word, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to look that up, make sure I know exactly what we're talking about. Transcendent reality is the definition from the Oxford Dictionary is it's of God, existing apart from and not subject to the limitations of the material universe. Wow, that blew my mind. I've read about and studied that word and never got that exact definition. That's the one they gave me when I did the Google search, right? It popped right up.
That's a big one. That's a show in itself right there.
Yeah.
That is.
Wow.
Maybe the next one. So when we free ourselves from using our energy, which is precious, y'all, when we free ourselves from using our energy in such a negative way, the payoff is huge. It means being able to see others as they truly are, opening our hearts to the world, and to finally beginning to love and accept ourselves. Wow. So at this point, so many things came to my mind when I thought about that. How that started to come to me, and I recognized it also in other people. And I'll just use an example. A dear friend, her son passed away, and it was due to alcohol abuse, and it disturbed her so very much. And my heart broke for her, and I thought, well, I just hope in time that she can understand that was part of his journey, you know. And I was able later on to kind of connect with that soul on the other side. And it was a beautiful thing to be able to say, hey, I get it. I know that was part of your journey. You didn't do that to hurt anybody. That wasn't part of the plan. That was part of your journey and your specific plan. So that was just kind of an occasion that came to me where I really felt it and began to become aware of it myself. And part of that came from forgiving my father, who was an alcoholic. And so I learned love. After he passed away, I would take long drives and talk to my father. And we got that straightened out. And it was a beautiful thing. So it's interesting how in our life path, recognizing certain things and then, exercising them and using them to help other people and yourself. So at this point, I would like to discuss different ways we can rephrase our thoughts. So,
Does
for
anybody know how
example,
to take down the slide? I don't know how to do it.
there we go.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Jean. I won't judge you for that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need you, Jean. I need you desperately. You know that. So,
Yeah.
in the instance, and this is the one that came to me, is like when you see a brutal attack, such as someone firing guns in to a crowd and taking people's lives and maybe injuring children. Something like that comes across your TV. A way of rephrasing how you feel is maybe saying, this was truly a tragedy. And I pray for the hearts, minds, and souls of all of those involved. That includes the perpetrator. That steps it back and helps you to really feel that true love, and it relieves you of that disturbing feeling that we get, that we're not safe and things are bad, and that sort of thing. What are some of the other ways you guys can think of that we can rephrase?
Well, none of us are without flaws. None of us are without perpetration. None of us are without hurting somebody or letting somebody down or saying the wrong thing at the wrong time or, being intentionally deceitful to somebody else. None of us. We all have experienced this, and we all are human. We all are human with humanity and this ego and spiritual awareness and blended awareness. We have flaws, and none of us are free from these flaws. Some of them are more apparent and you see it every day, and some of them are more hidden. But none of us are free from these flaws. And it is that the soul having a human experience
Yes.
with those flaws. And it does not release them from responsibility, accountability,
No.
or whether it was appropriate. It is only an understanding or a perspective.
Yes. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Ladies, anybody else?
Tough question.
Here I thought we were going to like set off all kinds of nerves and stuff, and people were going to get, really into it. But now it's like all quiet. I'm like, oh man, I don't know.
Well, one thing I try to do is try to just remember that I've had many lives.
Yes.
I've been everything. I've been all the bad people you can think about. I've been all the good people you can think
Exactly.
about. Maybe not those exact people, but just like them.
Right. Yeah.
And I also try to remember, I try to keep that present, but I also try to keep present in my mind that everybody here, everybody we see, they are a child of God, of source, God, however you want to call it. They are
That's
that, they are just like me.
Mhm.
They are us. And so try to cut them a break once in a while,
I feel the same way. That's pretty much how I go through life. And if my vibe doesn't vibe with yours, that's okay. I just move on.
Right.
Or you
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I definitely have limited the people in my life based on frequency. I mean, truly, nothing horrible has happened, nothing terrible, but you learn that without judgment, what works for you and what doesn't, what feels good to you and what
Yes.
doesn't. And when you create those boundaries for yourself and not allow those lower energies around you or to bother you, it's not judgment. It's taking care of your
Yourself.
vibration, yourself, your soul.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're right. We've all been the perpetrators and we've all been the victims. So you have
Mhm.
to give them a break because they're all our brothers and sisters, whether
That's
we
Yeah,
like
right.
it or not.
we've all been through different things, but we've all been there.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
absolutely, yes.
Not
And
only in other people's lives, but in our own lives.
Mhm.
right,
Yeah. And so we can twist that around and say, well, I need to get better at not judging myself and saying,
I don't know about you, but I'm much harder on myself than I am on others. I
Me too.
believe.
Yeah.
me too.
I think that's pretty much true about most everyone.
Yeah,
Maybe unless you're a narcissist, I don't know.
and you got to figure out why is it that we believe anything that's bad about us and don't believe the good things about us.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense. We take the negative judgment and we embrace it instead of the positive
The
judgment.
positive. I know. It's
I
crazy.
know,
But that's
Well,
human nature. It's
but
protection.
Terry
It's that
Lee, can you, if you could, or any of us,
Sure.
maybe talk a little bit about now? I think that all of this was sort of how we judge others. I think it was sort of done with that type of perspective, and with when Susie said others were judging her. So how does any of this apply when we are being judged or misjudged and by others? Like, does the
Yes.
same rule apply backwards? Like,
Yes.
how would you,
Perfect. The next step. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's the thing. It can be so painful. And yet again, we have that choice. We can choose to go in a different direction with that. And there's been so many times in my life when one of the things I had the hardest time dealing with was being misunderstood. Ooh, ooh,
Mm,
ooh.
Me
oh,
You
too.
know, like, that's not what I meant. Wait, I didn't.
Yes.
eh.
Yes.
And I came to a point and I literally looked in the mirror and said to myself, Terry, some people aren't going to like you. Some people are going to misinterpret the things you
Yeah.
say. They're going to misinterpret the things you do. And, I mean, if that's your BFF, you may be able to work through that with them. And actually, I have a BFF that I work through things with a lot. But it maybe you just have to let it go. You just have to let it go. I don't know. Does anybody have any really good formulas for stuff like that? Other than
we
just
all we all
I
want to have people look at us in a favorable way. None
yeah,
of us want to look at ourselves in the mirror and say some people are not going to like you. It's not whether or not it's liked, it's whether or not we feel we have expressed ourselves in the manner that would help or not offend somebody. Like, why
mhm,
would they be judging me? Maybe how could I have offended them? But sometimes it's not us offending them, it's because of where their viewpoint is and where their
yes.
limitations are. They can't see because of
Exactly.
the, I say we've all perpetrated, and people will be like, "Oh, I have never perpetrated. How could she say that?" And they would
Yes.
take offense and say she's wrong, she's crazy, and have judgment. I mean, that's like sort of, that's because they don't have the awareness, and that's a part of it. But
But
there's
also,
different
it's
degrees
none
of
of our
that.
business what other people think about us. It's not
Very. I
about
love
it.
that.
Truly,
Yes.
what other people think
Right.
about us is not about us. It's about them.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
what's
And
going
where
on in
they are.
their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About them
Yeah.
and where they are.
Yeah. I really try. I mean, it hurts my feelings when somebody is ugly to me or I feel judged by they don't understand me or whatever. But what can you do about it? They're
Yeah.
obviously not on the same wavelength, and there's just really not
Mhm.
much you can do about it, but just send them
Right.
love and move on.
And going back to Jean's comment, talking about being offended, that's probably another show too. Um, people are going to be offended by us, and it's important for us to learn not to be offended by other people.
Oh, it really is. I mean, out there in the world, people are offended by the most ridiculous things. They're offended if you're breathing. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
it really is such nonsense the way that people act these days. Some people
Right.
act.
I think it's
And
really
some
important
people
work
don't
that
like
we're
swearing, and some people grew up with it. To them, it means nothing. But you walk into a room, and if you're used to having every other word a swear word, it doesn't bother you. But where somebody else is coming from, it does. So it's
Yes.
just,
Yes.
well,
I
Mhm.
have an
that's
example of that. It's kind of interesting. We went to see a Broadway show. I'm not going to be able to remember the name, but there was a lady sitting next to me, and in this show, there was a great deal of swearing. There was, their main characters were Italian. I was enjoying the heck out of the show. I thought it was just wonderful. And then it came to intermission, and she leans over to me and she goes, "I just have to leave. I just can't stand all this swearing."
oh
And I said,
For yourself.
I'm really sorry. I'm enjoying the show, but by all means, if you have to leave, you need to leave.
Exactly.
And then she left, and I
Have a
laughed.
nice
I
day.
shouldn't have laughed, but yeah. Um, Part of our influence on other souls is our vibration, and I know you ladies know this. It vibrates out like the stone being thrown into a pond, right?
Mhm.
And that's part of the joy that we have, to think that, well, maybe I can just kind of laugh at that or go the other way or wink at somebody and just help them get over a little bit of something that might really upset them, or as they used to say, stick in their craw. Remember how they used to say, "Stuck in her craw." Pretty good description, but you might be able to help that person get over that just by having that loving vibration in their presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also find that if somebody is judging me and telling me you did this or that, and they've misunderstood me, that does hurt me a lot. But it hurts me a lot in that if you know if I didn't mean to do that, I really don't like it that they're hurt. And
Yeah.
so I'm more present to think about, is this true? Did you do this? Did you not?
Yeah.
And then say, even if I know, okay, I have done something, they've misinterpreted it, maybe I already know they're not going to hear me.
Yeah.
So I might just still offer an apology saying, I
Sure.
am so sorry that what I did hit you that way. That wasn't my intention. And
Mhm.
if they will let me keep talking, try to explain what I meant, but chances are that they won't. And so finally, I think I finally grew up enough to let it go, and not say, "Oh, Terry, how could you have done that?" And
Right.
blame
Yeah.
it all on me.
Letting
So,
go is one of the hardest things I find, when I'm talking about the monkey mind.
Mhm.
It's one of the hardest things to let go of for me, because it will continually come back, and that's part of the practice. It's practice. It takes practice to love yourself. As much as we know it's important to love other people, it's equally as important to love yourself, and to keep pat yourself on the back. Hey, you're practicing. You caught that. You
Yeah.
understand that that's not, I choose not to think that, because that's not healthy for my soul or my mind or my body.
And I remember a time when I was like a broken record. Everything I said was, "Why did you do that?" And I could not let go of everything that I had done. And it just played over and over and over, which finally I learned to stop. But it takes time
It
and
does.
it takes a lot of effort not to be replaying that monkey mind stuff.
Yeah.
mhm.
I think that picture that I had, I'll put it up briefly again. I'm going to print this up and hang it in my office, because to me it helps you laugh at something that can be so annoying, right?
Mhm.
That beautiful monkey. Ay, ay. So I was just
White
going to ask you,
Dragon
Jane.
says,
You
monkey
read my
mind.
mind.
This is a gorilla.
Yeah.
Gorilla.
I think mine is too, White Dragon.
Yeah. There's a lot of great comments out there. Jane, do you want to? Oh, I'm sorry. You were getting ready to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Priscilla has the comments, so go ahead. I can hold my thought till we're done. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to. Loving Life
Oh,
says we all had to learn these lessons. Absolutely.
mhm.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Jean.
Well, I was just going to say that, the perspective happens. And one of my favorite lessons and one of my most exacerbating lessons is the woman that I had worked with, many years back. And she was absolutely, just incompetent and would lie straight through her teeth. And she would say, the balloon is red. And everybody would be like, but I thought it was blue. It looks blue. Didn't you like the blue? And she would say, I told you it was blue. And I'm like, you just said it was like, it was
Yeah,
really like,
yeah.
just,
Yeah.
just really
Those
push my
people are
buttons.
tough.
But in the end, people would say, like, she would come over to me and really just really make my life a miserable and
Oh,
give me things to do at my job. She was my supervisor and would
oh,
say things to me and stuff. And then I would say, I disagree. And so then she would walk away in a huff or whatever and go in her office and close the door. So as soon as she closed her door, all three of my coworkers would run over to my office door, and they'd be like, "Jean, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "How can you stay so calm when she's acting like that towards you?" And you just say you disagree. I said, all I know is somebody in her life has treated her that way. And that is the only way she knows how to treat people. That's the
Yeah.
only way she knows how to communicate is
Beautiful.
and I know it's not me. I know I'm doing the right job. I know what she says is a crazy woman, and and I shouldn't follow what she says. And all I have to say is I disagree. I'm not being, forceful. I'm not being,
Right.
disrespectful. I'm just holding my ground. And they were like, I mean, I said, she pisses me off, but I'm not going to let her push my buttons. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But when I got home, I would call my mom, I would call my sisters, I would
Yeah.
call my girlfriend,
Yeah.
everybody I like it
Right.
made me feel, because it
Mhm.
was really difficult. But I'm telling you, was one of my most profound lessons was learning how to deal with that.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's beautifully said. Beautiful. And
Mhm.
that's that trick of rephrasing things in your mind.
Yeah.
I had someone approach me the other day that uh, we definitely have completely different political views and views of life in general. And this person started to talk about, oh, well, this is going to happen. And it's going to crash. And I thought, okay, I don't want to be rude. And it just came out of my mouth. And I said, I'm really sorry. I just don't see it that way. Just boom, ended it right there.
I mean,
And
that's like a mic drop.
I am.
You're not telling her she's wrong. You're not telling her that,
Yeah,
anything that she's, believing is not
yeah,
something to believe. You want to just take what you feel and state your place.
yeah.
Yeah,
Say,
that's a
I
lovely
am
way
and
to
I
do it
agree.
too.
Mhm.
I just don't see it
Great.
that way.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but somehow I think that spirit gave you those words and that inspiration to come out with that at that perfect time. And
Yeah.
I feel as though I was definitely being led and, you
Mhm.
know, not reactive to that.
Yeah.
She was borderline abusive, but she was not well, obviously. And I feel bad for her that somebody would talk to her whole life like that. I think that it was
Right.
one of her
There
parents.
you go.
Nobody just comes
There
up with
you
that,
go.
you know.
And we have to expand that to,
Yeah.
you know, people on the news. Um,
Yeah.
and I kept thinking of a way. I'm like, well, how can I rephrase this? Because I'll be honest with you, there was a certain well, let's talk about the orange elephant in the room. Would come on television, and in the past, my way would be just to mute and salute. I'm at least I muted. That other part just kept coming out, and then I realized I don't like that. That just doesn't make me feel good at all. And then I started this thing where I realized the guide spoke to me and said, "Pray for that soul. Pray that that soul becomes enlightened. Pray for the people in the White House. Pray for people to get
That's what
enlightened
Heather and
vision
I
for the
started
future."
doing during that
Mhm.
horrible
Yeah,
4 years of
yeah,
terror. And we started blanketing
yeah.
Washington, D.C. with unconditional love and unity consciousness. It
There
was
you go.
the
Yep.
entire
That's it.
city was blanketed,
And
and
that's
we
like
did that every
straight
day.
from heaven to
And
you.
then, and there were times we individually said, and especially this person, and this person,
Yeah.
and this person.
Because we were doing the same thing you were. We were watching the news and getting upset and letting it affect our lives. So
Yes.
I just quit watching news. I don't watch any
Mhm.
news
Yeah.
anymore. I get what little bit I need from
Yes. Hmm.
different sources, and leave it at that. Because otherwise, it's just if you follow any of it, there's so
Hmm.
much misinformation. There's so
There's
much
no
fear.
impartiality.
It's just not worth watching.
Yeah. Well, and we're living in tumultuous times, and we chose to come here in tumultuous times. So now we go back to the whole life plan, right?
That's
Coming
okay,
down at
'cause
these
we
times
just
because
keep
what
doing
are
the
we
good
learning?
we just
Yeah.
keep doing our good work and letting the chaos stay where it is and get
Yeah.
shrink.
Yeah, that's it. And then it resonates. It goes out and it spreads out. And that love and understanding has to be there for every soul on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah. I found that one really hard to switch to love. It took me a while. I was like, I'm supposed to send love. I mean, my guys were telling me, and I'm like, I don't know about that. You know,
Yeah.
it did take me a while to get there.
This reminds me of when Terry Suzuki was doing her Akashic healing, and we talked about spiritual sovereignty. And we remember that we have our own sovereignty to be happy and to be whole and to be successful and prosperous and to
Achieve
experience
that.
life and not to get involved or caught up in somebody else's drama. And
Yes.
it's really important to, keep that boundary and that understanding that I am sovereign, and that energy doesn't come into my world because my world is my own experience. We
Yes.
make this world, we make our
Yes.
own experience what we want it to be to the best of our knowledge. Not everything is within our control, but as much as possible. And as much as we can practice this is
Yes.
important. And nobody's perfect. Everybody watches it and says, "Oh my gosh," we all do. It's you need to practice.
We're
it
all
and
flawed.
and do
Oh,
it. Yes.
we're humans. There's no
human.
doubt about that. I don't
mean,
have any wings back
Humanity
here.
equals flaws because it's a duality. So
Exactly.
And that's basically when I was starting to write this, I thought, wow, that we came and that duality was so important. We are reflections of God. So the whole of the cosmic consciousness of the universe expands and learns from our learning in these difficult situations. And I apologize for bringing up politics, but that is one of the hugest
it's
ones I have
huge.
learned in my life.
And it has to be, you have to lose the judgment about people as well as situations. And
Yes.
why get upset about situations you have absolutely nothing you can do about?
That's right. It's
Like,
beyond my control.
like, what do you call it? Things in the sky, chemtrails. Can I do anything about chemtrails? Absolutely not. So I'm not going to give it 2 seconds worth of my thought about it because it's just not
Mhm.
working. There's nothing I can do about it. So what does worry do? It just lowers my vibration.
That's
Not
right.
interested. So
Yeah.
you have to really look at situations, judgments about situations and people as well.
As my dear mother said, whatever.
Whatever.
Terry Lee, would you mind repeating that about our energy that reflects the whole entire universe? What was that again?
Oh, sorry, I got a little out there, didn't I? So many people, and in fact, I listened to some astrophysicists the other day that explained it, and I was like, wow, really? Yeah, good. But that the creator grows from our reflection. We reflect what we're experiencing down here on the planet. The creator grows the entire cosmic consciousness of the universe, as we stated in the beginning of the show, grows and learns and understands. So, the creator's not done. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
amazing.
He's
That is
still,
amazing.
still
If that's
learning
if
through
that's
us.
not a reason to let go of judgment and to start
Yeah.
having a happy, fulfilled, and creative life, and build what we want, because it all does ripple out to the entire universe.
Yes,
And
it
that
does.
was really, I love the way that you said that, Terry. And I
Thank
don't know
you.
if you have it written down somewhere, but it bears repeating. I think it's really important that how we conduct our lives and the experience we have ripples out. I think that's really,
It
really so
ripples
very
out to
important.
the consciousness on the planet. I mean,
Yeah.
everything every single person does has that ends up there. So, and it just ripples out into the rest of the universe. All of our
Yeah.
actions, all of our thoughts.
Yeah.
And
That's
it
like
goes
that.
back to
It
that.
pays to keep them happy.
Mhm.
Well, it's like that statement we made at the beginning of the show about denying our own divinity and the divinity of others. We are divine, eternal beings, and
We're
it
sovereign. Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's right, exactly. And yeah, sometimes it kind of freaks me out a little bit to think about it, but then other times I'm like, yes, it feels so good. And that's part of that freedom and releasing those chains we had at the beginning of the show as well on that slide. It's a wonderful thing, and I see all these people making these amazing comments out there in the
Well,
And
chat.
I was going to say, getting back to Priscilla's keeping things positive, remember that any vibes we set out is like throwing a rock in a pond.
Yes.
It ripples out. And it's not just us it affects. It's not just those near us that affects. It's everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely right, Heather.
Absolutely.
and it's not only our responsibility to live a prosperous, happy, high energy, creative life. It's an honor to do so. It's a privilege to do so.
Yes.
They fight to come to Earth. Energies are up there standing in line.
Yeah.
And we're the ones that made the trek.
That's right. We signed up, and I'm so glad
I'm
we all
glad.
did.
I'm really glad I did. This is
Me
I
too.
find it absolutely fascinating how much I've learned in the last 10, 20 years. And
Yes.
it grows exponentially all the
Yes.
time. And I still feel like I know absolutely nothing.
I know that feeling.
feels
It's like
so
when
much better.
I graduated college, I didn't think I could teach anybody art until I went to the junior high and found out they needed less than I did. I said, I can teach. You know.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I see that we're kind of coming up on the hour, and I'll turn this back over to Priscilla.
Well,
And
thank you very much, Terry Lee. That was actually very interesting. I
Yes,
love
it
that
was.
topic.
Thank
it
you.
was great.
Yeah.
It was. Thank
Um,
you so much. I knew that it was. The guys kept telling me, "Don't worry, it's going to flow. It's going to flow." Beautiful things that came from all of you and those out in the chat. It's just amazing. Everything just it came down and flowed like a river, and it was a beautiful thing, just like they said. So thank you.
Well, thank all of you ladies for being here today. And I sure hope that we get to have our friend Wisdom Seeker Joan for the next
Yes.
one. And I've kind of forgotten what the next one is and who it is, but let's see. It
Let's see.
is Heather,
I
remote
knew
viewing.
Oh, remote viewing. I
Almost told you
love
that.
it.
I can't wait for that one. That's going to be brilliant. So remote viewing is May 6th. And then it'll be Sun Psychic Gene with Auric Fields. So that'll be fun. And ladies, do you have any shows today or tomorrow that you want to tell us about? Anybody
I'll
have
be
any-
on Wednesday. That's the 3rd. And doing my solo read. So everybody out there in the chat, come on over and get a
Please
reading.
go over and watch her channel, Pure Visionary, and the link is in the chat. It's also in the description and of the show. And Sun Psychic Gene, what about you?
I have Cherry Renner from Holding Your Space going to be on my channel at around 5:30 this evening.
Brilliant.
So, and tomorrow I'll be with Terry Suzuki. And Terry, did you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Sure. So tomorrow, April 2nd, it'll be the Akashic Healing Series, and Jean will be with me there. The focus of healing, they started early on this one because they knew I might have trouble grasping how
Okay.
this is going to go. But the focus of healing is anxiety.
Nice.
Wow.
And they're going to do it a little differently than they usually do. So
Stay tuned.
Mhm.
So that is on Terry Suzuki's channel. If you get a chance, please watch that tomorrow night at what time?
at 3 in the afternoon Pacific time.
3 in
So,
the
What
afternoon.
is that,
3,
like
4, 5,
6 your
6,
time? 6
6 Eastern.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And Heather and I have acceptance for tomorrow at 3 o'clock on our channel. All about acceptance. And
She's going to fill in
then-
the holes from my last show.
I don't know. We're gonna get, so if you want to pop in and say hi and contribute, you can always do that as well, because a
it bears
huge subject.
repeating. You can't talk about it enough. That's
No,
for sure.
you can't. And let me tell you, my acceptance has grown so much that Spirit has been moving me to a huge change in my life. And I am selling my house and moving to Santa Fe. And I actually leave Friday. I leave my house on Friday in Key West to drive to Fort Collins, Colorado. I'm taking 5 days and stopping in Russellville, Arkansas for the eclipse. So that'll be fun. And then that night, I believe I'll be on Valerie Bradshaw's channel, Illumination Portal, with her,
Oh, yeah.
Diana, and you, Sun Psychic Jean, correct?
Yes.
On the 8th. So my life is going through changes, and tomorrow's our last show until I believe it's the 13th. Taking a couple of weeks off to settle in Fort Collins with the family. I mean, I have a B&B because I'm only going to be there 3 months, and then I'll head down to Santa Fe. But so big changes in my life and total acceptance. It's like I am just riding this wave. It's being guided by spirit. I really don't know where I'm going to end up, and it's okay. I'm just taking it a couple of days at a time. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
And it's very exciting. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. Anyway,
Can't wait to hear all about it.
Yes, I'm sure you will. It's scary but exciting. It's a whole new chapter, a whole new adventure. So
Oh,
I'm looking forward to it. Ladies, thank you so again for being here. Chat, again, thank you for being here and participating. It's always very important to us that you participate and
Yes.
let us know what you think about what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Till next time, I will say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.